Thank you so much. And thank you, Peter, for being here. I always feel Peter's consciousness. It's wonderful. So I want to start the morning with a little story about a woman around the Christmas holidays, because her home was filled with attractive presents and things, and she heard a burglar coming into her home. And she was kind of elderly and very upset. And she caught this burglar as the burglar was trying to walk out the house with all these presents and things in his hands. And she stopped him by raising up her hands, and she said, "Act 238." And he stopped dead in his tracks. And so she called 911, and he's still standing there, just frozen. And the policeman showed up at the door, and they said, "Well, how did you stop him?" Well, she said, "I just used scripture." And so the cops turned to the burglar, and they said, "Well, how did that happen?" "Scripture, nothing. She said she had an axe and 238s. Well, the mystery and the promise. I often think about the mysteries of life, don't you? You think about just, why am I here? What will it be like a year from now? How will my life unfold? And why? Why do things look the way they do? Why is the color blue? Why is the sky the way it is? Why are the stars in the place they are? Why? All these mysteries that, we can certainly, find scientific reasons for, but then why is there science? And, your mind just goes on and on and on and on. So I love this concept of the mystery and the promise, because the promise gives us something to hold on to as we ponder the mysteries of ourselves and of the universe. Ralph Waldo Emerson said, "The stars awaken a certain reverence, because though always present, they are inaccessible, but all natural objects make a kindred impression when the mind is open to their influence. Nature never wears a mean appearance." The stars have this effect on us. They're certainly one of the mysteries that we ponder on a regular basis. And they've always created a sense of mystery for me. When I look up at a star at night, when you can see a star at night, and focus on a particular star, I see this golden thread of light that somehow connects me to that star. And I follow it. And I let my imagination expand as I see myself becoming closer and closer to that star. And in those moments, what I realize is that I am experiencing thousands and thousands and thousands of years, because the time that light has taken to reach my eyes, so many amazing things have happened. In that time, imagine, we learned how to build wheels. We learned how to write. We learned how to print books. We learned how to create light bulbs. We learned about steam engines, how to build airplanes, how to create rocket ships that have only taken us a small portion of the way to that star. Amazing, isn't it? That light is still on its way and has not yet completed that period of time. Amazing, amazing, amazing. And so I think that what Ralph Waldo Emerson was saying is that sense of light creates a kindred impression. That recognition in me resonates with what's happening in the universe and that star. There's something happening that when my mind is open to the possibility, the mystery of what's happening in that light, I'm open to its influence of whatever that might be. And so I sense the promise of what that mystery will bring. Now, on this planet, what we do is we try to make sense out of mysteries. I had interesting conversations with Fred this morning about the virgin birth. I'll warn you now, do not get into that discussion with Fred. So, we create these stories that somehow define the way things have been created in the universe, how we have arrived on the planet, why we are the way we are, and so on and so forth. And it is no coincidence that the stars have played this enormous part in the symbolism that's connected to the birth of the Christ. Because here we have this great mystery of the star, the mystery of this being of light that has somehow become a way-shower in our world. And how do we make sense out of all of this? And how do we, make it fit the way that we experience our lives on this planet today? And of course, we all have different interpretations of this, depending on our background or what we're practicing in terms of our philosophies right now. But we can't deny the fact that these stories, and this one in particular, has had a huge influence on us and has truly affected us and impacted us in many, many ways. And I want to share with you this morning how some of that pertains to the way I have interpreted it. So, the story talks about the three wise men who were led by a star to the place where the Christ was to be born. Now, we all know all about that. And the metaphysical meaning behind that is that there's a wise part in all of us that is somehow led by a light. That we have within us the concept of the wise men. Whether we believe the story as true or as mythical or as a story, it doesn't make any difference. But what we know is that there's great wisdom in this, in that there is that wise part in all of us that is led by the star to the place where the Christ in us, or the Christ is born, the light. So, although that light appears to be a mystery of sorts, we feel that deep within us, it is leading us to what we need to know. It's leading us to that Christ light, or the Christ essence that is within us, something that we need to know. And so this is the promise of something wonderful, the promise of the light, the promise of the Christ. When we talk about the spiritual perfection behind all things, it is about the Christ light that lives in each of us, that is there for us to find, to discover, to reveal, to know. And so it is that wonderful promise that the mystery continues to lead us towards. Dr. Holmes, who is the founder of religious science, said, light was the first revelation of divine creative energy that called all living things into being. Light, like the stars. And when we see the stars, something deep inside of us responds to that. Something's touched. There's an energy that we perceive that is somehow triggered by this light of that star, that distant star. And there's something about that light, I don't know if it does that for you, but for me, it brings me comfort. It brings me a sense of knowing that it draws me to it, it inspires me, it takes me to a place of remembrance. But it also takes me to a place where I often find a bigger picture. Because sometimes when I go out to look at the stars at night, it's because I'm really ticked off about something that's happening in my life. So I go outside to look at that star that gives me a bigger perspective. It takes me out of my littleness into a place where I somehow can expand my consciousness and know that there is something much bigger, much greater than what I'm experiencing in the moment, whatever that small and little thing might be that somehow is annoying me in the moment. So it's amazing what that light can do and what that mystery of the light does for us. So let's go back to the story of the wise men, because it's very, very interesting. The wise men set out because King Herod sent them. But King Herod said, when they found the child, when they discovered the Christ child, they were to come back to Herod. Now, what happened is, they didn't. They saw the star. They were inspired by the star. They brought the child gifts. They were overwhelmed with this sense of discovery, this sense of wonder, the sense of almost somehow revealing the promise of the mystery, somehow revealing this great, amazing event. And so when that happened, something inside of them said, don't go back, but instead go back another way. So this is such a great metaphysical line, because when their inner wisdom told them that King Herod was to eventually get to the child, King Herod was going to kill the child. And something in them, the intuition within them knew that. They knew that this was not what they should be doing, and that they should go back another way and keep this a secret. Keep it away from Herod, because this was not a good thing. So the message to us is that when we reveal that sacred essence, when we discover the Christ, when we reveal it, when we understand the promise that the mystery has brought us to, what happens is we have this amazing feeling of inner knowing, of inner strength, and immediately the ego, the Herod in us, tries to convince us that it's not true. And we can remember having experiences like that all the time when we know it's the right thing, but this little ego voice keeps saying, the Herod in us keeps saying, no, you should come back and do what I told you to do originally. But when we listen to the inner voice, when we listen to that amazing power of the presence in us, that what that does is it overcomes the Herod in us. It overcomes the ego. And we connect with this inner wisdom, and it gives us the opportunity to go another way, to take another way, to choose not to allow our past conditioning to guide us, to not allow that which is trying to overcome this inner knowing, but to truly take the path that leads us to the promise. This is the answer to the mystery. This is taking us to what we need to know. Our inner wisdom leads us to the presence and the birth and the revelation of the Christ essence within us. So we are not limited by time and by space, and the stars reveal that to us. They show us how amazing this life is. We are not limited by time and space, and our existence is no less than the stars. No less than what exists out there. It's the same power that gives us light as the same power that gives us life. It's the same power. The power that we feel, the light that we see, is the same energy that gives us the life to live our lives in the glory that we have right here on this planet right now. So there's an old Serbian proverb that says, "Be humble, for you are made of earth. Be noble, for you are made of stars." So poets, philosophers, and dreamers, and theologians, and scientists all write about the stars. And we perceive them to be outside of us. And yet what we know is that they are not really outside of us at all. The inspiration that we get about the stars is not about what we see, it's about how we see the stars, how we are led by this great promise. And so the inspiration we get is to know that the stars are within us. Victor Hugo talks about a time when he had this experience about looking at the stars and the messages that he was getting from this experience. And he said, it seemed to be a necessary ritual that he prepared himself for sleep by meditating under the solemnity of the night sky a mysterious transaction between the infinity of the soul and the infinity of the universe. Isn't that so cool? That feeling, that knowing that as you just allow that light to come and bathe you, that there's something that resonates. It's what Emerson was talking about, that sense of connecting with that which is the light, the infinite presence of light, the ongoingness of it, the endless possibility of it that lives within us, the mystery, the infinity of our own soul, the infinity of the universe. So tonight, maybe not tonight, maybe not tomorrow night, but one night this week, somewhere in between the clouds and so forth, go outside and just look up at those stars. And as you do that, visualize that star and then close your eyes. Close your eyes and just imagine. Imagine that star in space it first began within your consciousness. It first began as the light that is moving through you. And there is no limit to that light. No limit where it came from or where it's going to. It reflects the infinite dimension of our own souls. It is a reflection of who we are and what we have within us, of the power that we can feel and connect with. And all we have to do is let our minds be open to that infinite presence of light. So to be led by the infinite possibility of the mystery and see beyond that immediate experience of today, whatever that today might be bringing for us, that whatever possible annoyance might be coming around during the course of the week, to know that possibility of the mystery, the promise of the mystery will always take us out of